Yes, I am a cruel person. I sometimes you write subject lines or headlines that are misleading. This one is totally true. I really did make a grown man. He may be a senior citizen. Made him cry on Christmas Eve, and I'm not proud of it, but I think it was the right thing to do. Somehow this has something to do with writing copy and maybe something to do with emails. But anyway, I'll tell you the story briefly and get to the point. I, uh, my wife and I are we contribute a lot to the family. Let me say it that way. Do a lot to be leaders and helpers and supporters of people. My wife usually, because I'm not as thoughtful as she is, she takes care of people, does things for people, and so coming up to Christmas, we met with a bunch of family people on Sunday, and we had a little Christmas party or whatever after church, and nobody, well, one person got my wife a card, a cousin who we don't aren't even that close to most of the time, and no, none of these other people who my wife has spent hours and hours supporting over the last year. Nobody thought to get her anything. So anyway, one relative in particular, I called him out on it a couple of days later. I guess it's Christmas Eve, and said, I told him like, y'all. I mean, I won't tell you how much money we've given them, but among other things, money and a lot of time, a lot of support for them to help them through a hard time this year. And you guys didn't even think to get a card, whatever. I told him, you can explain how you want to. You may not have a lot of money in your pocket, but you shouldn't use it as an excuse not to express gratitude at Christmas time. It's Christmas time. If you don't do it any other time, you might get away with it. But you were bogus for not showing my wife appreciation on this day, and she was bothered by it. She didn't really make a big deal about it, but it bothered me. Anyway, in the conversation, I kept calling the guy out. Said you're just making it's a cop out what you're saying. You don't have money. That doesn't mean you can't get a 99-cent card or a handwritten note. It's free. You just avoided the conversation, and we talked for maybe about half an hour, and he started to cry. He had to get off the phone with me. He's a manly guy. Didn't want to cry on the phone with me, I guess. Got off the phone. Let me tell you why this has something to do with copy. Your copy or good copy doesn't just give people information. Like I could have said to him, "Oh, it's Christmas. You should express gratitude and love for people," and inform him about what the day is for. Good copy does something else. It creates a crisis. In many cases, it should create a crisis for the reader or the viewer, or listener, what have you. It should drive them to a point where they recognize reality. They recognize that it's their reality and recognize that they have to do something about it, or they should do something about it. Like I said, in this case, the reality was this guy, acted thoughtlessly and hurtfully, maybe not on purpose, but through negligence. You're not acting the right way with regard to people who have supported you during difficult times in your life recently. And so good copy should do that. It should point people to reality. You're out of shape. Your blood pressure is, gonna make you have a heart attack, and it's your fault. Your wife feels neglected, and it's your fault. Your kids can't read, and it's your fault. But telling them it's their fault is usually not a great idea. You want to give them a scapegoat. But anyway, they have to realize my kids can't read, and I haven't done anything about it that as much about it as I should have. Or your business is failing, and it's your fault. Even though you say it's not your fault, you may say that. But you haven't done everything you could have done, but now I'm presenting you an opportunity to do better. Okay, so that's the difference. That's an important difference, and that's why you have to be direct in your copy, and you should drive people to believe that they have to make a decision quickly about this thing. If you're having, like I said, health problems, don't just say the health problems are bad. You say, heart attacks can happen at any minute, right? You got to do something about this quickly, and you can do something about it quickly because I got this product, I got this service, I got this information that you need. So I'm putting it in 3 categories. I've said some of this before, but your copy has to be relevant. You have to understand where your readers are, what their reality is, and what the problems are there. So it has to be relevant to them. Health problems don't apply to everybody. Marriage problems don't apply to everybody. Business problems don't apply to everybody. Kid problems don't apply to everybody. Okay, so you got to be relevant. It has to be imminent. Like I said, it's a problem that has to get dealt with right away, very quickly. And if it's not, they can put it off till later, and they will. So it needs relevance, imminence, and resonance. It has to be something that they can feel. You are the kind of person who has the authority, expertise to help them fix that. And you're the kind of person who has the expertise and authority to diagnose the reality. So you have to do that. And then you have to persuade them it's time to take action on this crisis. You should be the one creating the crisis, or, not necessarily in one email, but over time, continue to bring them back to reality. Because it's easier on the phone to make somebody cry, right? Because you can say, hey, look, you can't use that argument. Nobody's falling for that. In copy, they're only talking to themselves. So in an email rather. So but keep putting reality in their face and keep showing them very clear pictures, very clear data that tells them, that reminds them and makes them face up to it. This is the reality, and you have to do something about it. And I'm going to be the one who helps you get through this thing. And that's that. So it's creating a crisis, solving the crisis, all in one, and that goes beyond informing people. It goes beyond making announcements about what's going on in your business. It's speaking right to a person where they are and helping them get a better result in their reality, in the way that you're gifted and experienced and knowledgeable about helping them. And like I always say, if you can't help somebody with their problems, you need to do that. Don't be shy about helping them. And if you have to make them cry to get them there, that might be what you want to do. Now, in this particular instance, the guy who I made cry, he said to me, I've always been this way, 60 plus years old. This is how I've always been. But, it's never too late to smell the coffee and wake up and smell the coffee and change. That's what he told me. So we'll see if he actually does change. Jury's out on that. But he recognized that it may be worth changing 60 years worth of behavior, 60 years worth of habits, 60 years worth of worldview, that I shouldn't have to do this. Well, he recognized, at least in the conversation, morning, K. Wanda, I'm happy to see you. He recognized that he might need to change. So hopefully he does change. And that was from the conversation that we had. So again, just information isn't going to do that. Informing people and educating, you can't educate people necessarily into change. You have to persuade them by making them face up to what's real and showing them that there's a consequence for what's happening and consequence for not taking action. There's a cost for taking action. There's a cost for not taking action. And you got to help them see that the cost for not taking action is higher, is greater, is worse than the cost of taking that action. So it might make people cry, but in the end, they're going to get a better result. They're going to have a better life, and you will be instrumental in making that happen. So that's all I got for you right now. Happy New Year, and let's have a great and productive day. Peace.